So we all know the real estate market in San Diego has begun to soften. So what if you're going to sell your home? How should you strategize that? My good buddy Danny Barker is here. Barker Brothers, what's going on, brother?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, I mean, this is always a big question when you go to list your home, because you're starting a negotiation and you have to be the first one to go, which is always the worst position to be in, right? No one wants to go first, but when you're listing your house, you have to.
Right.
So how do you handle a market like this where I know for me, for example, the last 4 out of 5 appraisals I've had, they appraised higher than the purchase price.
Right.
So comps aren't necessarily telling the story of the market. What's the best way to begin if you're selling right now?
Okay, so to me, the best way to begin is to really communicate with the seller on letting them know that they don't want to be the highest bidder from the jump, right? Because then nobody else will come and see it. So you do have to play that game where you're pricing it under what you want necessarily and then generating the activity. So all through COVID, I saw one offer per 6 showings, and then I listed, after the interest rates went up a few weeks ago, I listed a home and I had 22 showings and 2 offers. So there's plenty of buyers out there looking in that price range, but those 2 buyers were willing to play to a certain extent and pay somewhere a little bit under where we were asking, because we were asking a little bit too much, because we hadn't known that the market was going to soften a bit.
Yeah.
But no matter what the market looks like, have that discussion between the seller and the listing agent, and really play that what did the last house sell for in the neighborhood, even if it's not perfectly comparable. You have to take that into consideration, because if somebody sees that a house went for $900,000, they're gonna not want to pay 1.3, even though the house is twice the size and all of that, right?
Gotcha.
So
most recent, not even comp, just most recent sale in proximity is where you start.
I would say the most recent sale that closed is where you start, and if you're the seller, you should ask your listing agent or the person that's proposing you to be the listing agent, had they talked to the people that are pending, to find out what their activity looked like as well.
Gotcha.
So I've had a lot of calls from my listings, from other agents taking listings in the areas, and I'm pretty transparent with them, letting them know I had this many showings, this many offers, and this much price. Not all real estate agents play nice like that, but hopefully your real estate agent will get that information from them, because then we can go in and say, okay, so here's the data. And then right now what we're seeing is in March, this house closed at 1.4 and it's perfect model match. But then last week they had one go on for sale for 1.2 and it went for 1.3. So there are still times that people will go above your asking price, but that's when you priced it right. If you were to price your home for 1.4, then you're more trying to fight for anyone to make an offer at that point, and then buyers don't want to insult the seller, and they're taking your feelings into consideration. So maybe at that first meeting, take their feelings into consideration and say, hey, what would be attractive to a buyer, and then bring them in, let them fall in love with your home.
What do you think, how important is it to look at what else is on the market, like the comparables, like, hey, this is our actual competition. These are the people.
We have one right now. Rancho San Pasqual, get out there right now. There's 4 houses for sale, all under $1 million. In March, they would have all went for 1.1 to 1.4. And
Really?
now they're all at 950, 940. One of them even dipped into the 8s because it's a 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot. But Rancho San Pasqual and Escondido is a beautiful community. It's got a great pool. They have a very community sense to them. There's a school that's pre-K through 8. Get out there and get shopping. If you need help shopping in that area, I'm very familiar with it. Call me.
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
That's
good to know. But
we started ours at $1.05 million, thinking, oh, we're going to get a bunch of showings at $1.05 million, bunch of offers. Nothing, crickets. So then we went to 950, got a bunch of showings, and now we have a few offers that we're working with on ours. But the other 3, I did an open house 2 weekends ago, and I called the other listing agents and I said, hey, if I get somebody on my open house and they want to see the other houses in the neighborhood, may I take them? And I took one of my buyers to all 4 houses, and he was ecstatic, right? And he had 4 options. He had 4 options to choose from at that point, and they're all not comparable. They're all different models, but everyone's asking the same price. So the next day talking to that buyer was kind of interesting because he was like, I like this one because of that and that one because of this. But so the buyers are still participating. There's still plenty of activity. However, you have to get that price right that attracts them to see it, because nobody's going to buy your house without seeing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that you do so much research, you know, on every element of this process. I really enjoy that about you. I can see how hard you're working for your clients. It's awesome. And you know, when you say, hey, there's deals in an area, folks, I'm going to tell you, listen to this. Like, he is very dialed in. He's all up in the data on these areas and very plugged in. So that is a pocket of opportunity is what it sounds like to me. But for as far as pricing the home, you know, it kind of seems to me like the ideal position to be in, if you believe and understand that you can't ever really underprice a home. It's not really possible. If you price it too low, the market will tell you. It'll be crazy.
You know, there's a group, sorry to cut you off, but there's a group of EXP realtors out here that are listing homes way underpriced on purpose, and it's to attract the flood of people. They're having 100 people show up to see the house because they're asking $700,000 for a $900,000 home. But what price does it end up selling for? The highest and best, most qualified buyer, right? So they just spend a week or so ticking that price up. So now if your price range is 800 and you're looking at this 700 house, you're never going to get it because there's 100 people looking at it, which means per 6, you're looking at, you know, 20 offers, and you're not going to be the winner if you're going to cap out at 800. So make sure that your real estate agent that you're shopping with is doing their homework and being the analytic to know that house is not going to be in your price range.
Yeah.
Let's look somewhere else.
You can see that sometimes. You see a house that's listed for $699 and like the Redfin estimate is, you know, $912 or whatever, you know, some much higher number. They're like, okay, they've really lowered the listing price on this one, but it's not going to sell for that. But then sometimes, you know, most cases, you know, people list the home where they want to sell it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a mistake in my opinion, especially in a market that is recessing a little bit. It's like you really want to list the home for a price that makes every buyer who is looking for that type of home in that area sure to come see yours. They're for sure going to come see yours. Give them a chance to fall in love with it. You know, give them a chance to get multiple offers in. That's really what you want. I mean, multiple offers is how you negotiate when you're the seller. You need multiples really to negotiate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
From a position of strength.
Yes. As a listing agent, I get calls all the time. Do you have an offer? And my answer is always write up yours, and then I'll let you know, right? Because that's my way of saying no. You would be the
Secrets
first.
revealed here.
Right. And I do coach them along on the buyer's agents. I say, hey, look, come in with your highest and best, because if you come in too low and my sellers don't want it, I'm not necessarily going to come back to you with the price that we do want, because then that would be my bottom or their bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leverage that. And with my listing in Escondido, I did just that. Every offer I got, I told every single buyer's agent that saw the place with their buyers that, hey, we got an offer at this. Come in with your higher and better offer, and then we can play. And what was interesting is we went into escrow at I'll just say at 1.2, and then a couple of days later, I had a guy say, hey, will you take a backup offer? And I said, yeah, of course. So it's vacant, go show it. He showed it, and he gave me an offer for 1.25. And I can't get the 1.2 buyer out of escrow to sell it for 1.25 now. Right? But it's okay, because we got the 1.2 and the seller is happy, and the 1.25 was asking for a little bit of that back. So it's the net was only about $15,000 loss.
Okay, yeah. So you did great. Yeah, you did great. And these ones, longer market times, right? Like, I mean, I think the worst thing, we have stale listings on the market right now. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? Okay, this is where we are in the marketplace. There's still listings out there. There's listings that have been on the market 40 days, 50 days. Some of them have price reductions, some of them don't, which is wild to me. But you really don't want to chase the market down. I mean, ideally, you're not doing price reductions, because there's no greater sign of weakness if you're talking about a negotiation than okay, we're reducing the price. I mean, it's like saying, hey, not only do we not have any offers, but we're pretty much out of activity here.
Yeah, well,
We don't feel like an offer is really even being threatened.
the analytic in me came up with a thing that worked really well. So just full disclosure, I've only been a real estate agent for 3 years. So the only market that I know professionally is this market. Before then, I started buying houses with my VA loan at age 20. So I've been participating as a buyer and seller for all these years. But what I did with my seller is I said, hey, on the end of the third day that we don't have a call or a showing or a threat of an offer, then we'll talk about doing a reduction the next day. So I'll even give you that one more evening to get something, right? And I'm being purely transparent because I want the higher price too, right? So that's what we ended up doing. When we asked for 1.3, we went for 3 or 4 weeks every day. My phone was coming off. And then all of a sudden, crickets for 4 days. We went to 1.2, put it in escrow, and then got the backup at 1.25.
Yeah.
So like there is a strategy to it. You can use analytics to get there. But let's talk about the emotional side, right? The 2 reasons why your house won't sell. One, we already covered thoroughly with pricing. The other one is showing, right? And that's why the Barker Brothers Real Estate Group, and there's other people that will participate as well if you ask them. We loan the money via paying the contractors and paying for the materials. We'll do paint, flooring, new kitchens, new bathrooms, all of that stuff. Because if your house is sitting stale and you're not getting those calls for 3 or 4 days, I believe it's not showing well or it's not priced right. So with the house in Rancho San Pasqual that we're listing, we're either going to go into escrow with one of these buyers that we're leveraging against each other right now, working back up towards or above $1 million, or we're going to take it off the market and then we're going to put new staging and put it back on with fresh staging and see if that would help people make sense of the rooms because it's a little choppy.
Let's talk about that program a little bit more because it is very unique and you guys are really good at this. So I have a home that needs a little bit of updating. Maybe it's clunky in a couple areas or could just use some paint or maybe some flooring. You pretty much do anything, right? Or you assess
Everything.
the situation. Explain how it works. If I'm a home seller, I'm like, hey, I'm interested in this program. You know, I could use some updating. I really don't want to do it myself. I don't know who the contractors are. I don't want to go through the bidding process or feeling out process to figure out who could do this that I would trust. I don't really want to come out of pocket with the money, you know, because I have equity here.
Sure.
Like how does that process work?
All right, so let's go through it like this. You've owned the home for 10 years. You have about 600,000 or 700,000 in equity. We're just saying that, right? Maybe it's 200, but the approach is this: if we go in and rip everything out and put everything else in, we're talking about a huge bill. The biggest rehab I've done was a hoard house, and it was $133,000 that we paid for the upgrades of that house. In exchange, we asked for 1% extra. So instead of 2.5% for listing agent, it's 3.5%, and you keep the rest of the proceeds. We'll get the money back at close of escrow. So we would get the 133 plus the commissions, and obviously our profit is inside of the commissions, and that's not all profit either because I'm spending money getting it out there for marketing and preparing.
It's a great deal.
All of our listings, we do professional cleaning and professional windows, and then when we have the project, let's say it's just paint because the kids messed up the paint with their fingers and their crayons and stuff. That would probably be $7,000 or $8,000. That's an easy one for us to do. If it's a bigger project, then we want the family to move out, go get a rental or a short-term rental, and then we can have the house empty for the big projects.
Gotcha.
It's very, very popular for the people that are selling their homes that they were renting to other people. Because while you own it as a landlord, you're not necessarily putting in the nice fixtures and the nice lighting, right? And the tenants are beating up the floors and stuff. So pretty much every time that happens, we have to go in, and those range from 40 to 80 grand on the turnaround. So this is what flippers are doing, and we're doing it, and we're not charging anything more than that extra 1%, which is that's like our claim to fame.
It's a smoking deal.
Yeah,
it's a smoking deal to not have to worry about just organizing all of that.
Right.
It's really, really stressful, especially if you don't know what you're doing and you're just trusting the contractor. You guys know what you're doing, so you can keep an eye on what's happening. You have a vested interest in making sure that it all works out well, not just there to do the project and then get out of Dodge.
Right.
You have a vested interest in this working out. This home is going to be inspected, and you know it's going to be inspected. And they know you know it's going to be inspected. So it's like such an alignment of interests. I love to see that in a process and in a product, and I think that's a tremendous product that you guys have. I highly recommend, by the way, the Barker Brothers for this if you're selling your home. Take a look at this, give them a shot at it. It's the best way to get top dollar, especially in a market like this, which is becoming more competitive. There's more homes on the market.
Right.
So your house being a little more updated, it means a lot more than it did, a year ago when people were just buying whatever.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. The buyers who are left, everyone who is a really aggressive buyer, they own a home now.
Oh yeah.
The people who are left, they're the picky ones.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the ones who are like, yeah, I want a little bit more. I want a little bit lower price. I want a little bit more. I want it to be just right.
Yeah.
So if you really want to compete on the sales side and make the most of it, I think that's a great way to go about it. Danny Barker, great to see you, brother.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it.
Thank you for all the good you're doing in the marketplace. And guys, share this video with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else. We'll see you soon.